Well, good morning, everybody. Here we're reading through Genesis 48 to 50. And we see here the wonderful emphasis on the blessing um, and the Jewish idea of blessing. But instead of looking exactly at the blessing, I just want to point out what's revealed to us in Jacob's two major points of how Jacob saw God, because as we know, he doesn't know him as Yahweh yet, and that's not revealed until Moses. But Jacob had so many encounters and so much revelation of who God is, and he had all these different names, um, because he recognized that there was so much to God, and no one name could possibly describe all that he is. So he gave him many different names. Um, but we see here in the blessing of his grandchildren that there were two main things that stood out for him. First of all, God as his shepherd, I don't believe that this will be the first time that we encounter such a notion of God as shepherd, one who guides. And there's a lot to a shepherd: one who provides, one who protects, one who guides. And this is how he saw, and he saw that God had directed his life ever since that he revealed himself to him, at that the whole thing with Jacob's ladder, when he slept and had that dream, and God invited him into that relationship that he had with his father, and he had promised um, that he would be with him and he would make him a great nation, and he just wanted him to follow him, to worship him. And Jacob promised that if God had done these things for him, that he would, and understanding that this was a beginning of a relationship, and it's not really, God, if you do this for me, then I will follow you. I mean, it doesn't work that way. But it's this was just a new thing that was being presented to him, and and so Jacob is just here referring to God as his shepherd, that has guided him in all of his life, and all the successes and everything that he's had has come from him. And then he refers to him as his protector. And we know that as we look at Jacob's life, there's all these key moments that things could have just gone wrong for Jacob. His life could have ended so many times. Even the confrontation between him and his father-in-law, him and his brother, what his sons did to the one city, and all the cities could have turned on Jacob, and Jacob would not have been able to protect himself. All these places where God definitely 100% would have protected him. And I think this is part of where we fail, is that we live in the what is, and we don't always stop to consider what could have been if not for God. And if I look at my own life, I see many places where I could have been destroyed, many places where I could have died, many places where I could have just ended up in really bad places. And I know God intervened. I know that He did. I know without a doubt, because it should have naturally happened one way, but it didn't. It went another way. And the number of times that I may not have been able to see it in the moment, but upon reflection, I can see where He protected me here, where He intervened here, where He did this. And it's good to stop and consider these things, because it adds to our worship of God. It adds to our adoration. It adds to our love. It adds to the wonderment of who He is. It adds to our understanding of the depth of His grace. There's so much it adds to when we realize what could have been if it had not been for Him, if He had not done this for us, if He had not protected us, if He had not. And this is where Jacob is. He's looking back on his life and he's seeing that, yeah, God, you have protected me. You have protected me. You have been my shepherd, and you have protected me. And to live a life as long as what Jacob lived, um, almost a century and a half, and all the things that he had lived through and experienced. And at the end of it, he's able to turn around and worship God and praise God. Today, we would look at probably the deficits. So many people, they give up on God because they look at their deficits. They don't look at the things that God has done. They look at the things that they think God should have done. And it just destroys that whole relationship. Jacob could have looked, there could have been sour grapes there could have been all kinds of things that he decided to focus on, but he focused on the positive. He focused on what God had done for him, and he appreciated that, because it could have gone so much worse. So there's a place that we can go to when we need to be refreshed and remembered, and to remind ourselves that we live a grace-filled life because we have a Father who loves us. You guys be blessed, be encouraged, draw into him, and he will be your strength.